All right, buddy. We're talking about today adding or subtracting rational expressions. And again, the word rational just means a fraction. So I'm really talking about adding or subtracting fractions. So one of the things we have to have when we add or subtract fractions is a common denominator. Okay, and why is that true? Let me give you a really easy example. 3 sevenths plus 2 sevenths, right? We're talking about, a sevenths, right? So let me see if I can get a sevenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anyway, you talk about 3 of these plus 2 of these gives you sevenths, right? So you have to have a common denominator, which you do in the first question. Common denominator is 7, and you go 3 plus 2 is 5. That's it. That's it. But if it doesn't have a common denominator, then we need to make one, okay? So B, the only difference in A and B is the fact that we have x's. So it's the same process. Do you have a common denominator? Yes, it's 5. So my common denominator is 5. And the numerator then is a 3x plus 2x, right? 3x plus 2x. I'm going to add them together, common denominator, which is a 5x over 5. Now that looks great, except for we can reduce that. Of course we can reduce that. 5 over 5 is 1, so we get a 1x. Okay, so if you can reduce your fractions, do so. So if you can reduce, we'll reduce. Reduce your answer, okay? All right, now example 2 is very similar, except for more x's, right? Does it have a common denominator? Well, of course it does. They both have an x plus 3. So if I write down my x plus 3, then I can combine my numerator. So I'd have a 3x minus 4 plus a 2x plus 5, right? And of course, then that makes a 5x plus 1, 3x plus 2x plus 1, negative 4 and 5, all over my x plus 3. Now this one won't reduce, so I'm just going to have to leave it as an answer of 5x plus 1 over x plus 3. Okay, now, subtraction is the same thing. We have to be really careful. What we have to be careful about is subtracting negatives. And I'll show you what I mean. We have a common denominator. Yes, we do. Our common denominator is x plus 2, x squared plus 2. Now what goes on top? We've got to be careful. We're going to have a 2x minus 1. Now we got to subtract to 4x, but we got to make sure we subtract a negative. So we're going to subtract a negative 4x, which really means plus 4. You see that? Subtract a negative. It's like this. If you have to subtract the 4x minus 4, we know the negative goes to both, okay? Now, okay, my common denominator is x squared plus 4. And let's make a combine like terms. We'd have a negative 2x plus 3. This one will not reduce. There's nothing you can do with it, so we're just going to leave that answer the way it is. Okay? Turn the page. Okay. Example 4. Do you have a common denominator? Yes. So we're going to write that down as an x plus 2, and then my numerator is going to be a 2x plus 4. Okay, now this one can be reduced. We're going to reduce this one, but first, before we reduce it, we need to factor. Okay, let's factor the numerator. Okay, let's see what happens if I factor the numerator. Okay, so I have a 2 factor out, common factor out of 2x plus 2 if I common factor, right? 2x plus 2 over an x plus 2. And then from here we can reduce, cancel, x plus 2 over x plus 2. And our answer is just 2. Okay? Again, if I'm going too fast, just pause it and get caught up. Okay? Now, lastly, they're not the same, but I really want them to be the same. So I'm going to I'm going to modify this. So let me show you a little something on the side, okay? 3 minus x could be rewritten if I switch it around as a minus 1x plus 3. Okay? If I common factor out a negative 1, I could have an x minus 3. So what I want to do is change this denominator into negative 1, x minus 3, okay? That's going to help me get a common denominator. Now, if that is difficult for you, watch the film again. I switched it around, common factor out a negative 1, and I got a common denominator. Okay, so let's see what I have. I've got a 5x plus 1 over an x minus 3. And then I've got plus a 2x minus 1 over a negative 1 times an x minus 3, okay? Now, the last thing, I don't quite have the common denominator yet, but what I'll do is I'll bring the negative 1 up, because I can do that, okay? And I'll rewrite this as 5x plus 1 over x minus 3, and then I'll go subtract. I'll make that a subtraction minus a 1 times a 2x minus 1 over my x minus 3. A little bit harder, but we can do this, okay? Now what? Well, I have a common denominator, x minus 3. On my numerator, I have a 5x plus 1, and I got to be careful. I'm going to go subtract a 2x, and I've got a double negative. I'm going to make sure I subtract a negative 1, which is to add 1. Okay, I'm almost there. Getting close to having this one done. So on the numerator, I'll have a 3x plus 2 over an x minus 3. Does not reduce, does not factor, so that's all I have. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask. The homework's coming to you, so and you need to also do your mathia. Okay, that's all I got.